Okay, let's begin in a standing position, and we'll do some simple warm-ups for the shoulders. We'll begin with some arm swings, making a light fist and bringing the arms back and forth, really getting a nice motion through the shoulder joints, and then alternately bending the elbows with every swing. Staying relatively stable down through the legs, through the abdomen, and just really feeling some freedom generated in the shoulders. And then we'll take those arm swings and do horizontal arm swings across the front of the body, alternating which arm comes across the top. Feeling the chest open as you take the arms away and feeling the shoulder blades broaden away from each other as the arms come across the front of the body. Good, and then relax your effort, and from here you'll just clasp the hands behind you with bent elbows. And on an inhale, lift the chest and begin to take the backs of the hands down towards the floor. So the back of the neck stays long, chin slightly tucked, and a nice opening across the front of the chest as you draw the shoulder blades towards one another and down away from the ears. Then you might bring the hands and arms away from the body, away from the spine. And you can just take the arms as a unit off to the left, a little bit off to the right, just to get into different spots in the shoulder joints, all in an effort just to loosen up in the shoulders. Good, and then you can relax your effort and just let loose through the arms and shoulders. Now you'll lift both, first take a little bit wider stance than hip width distance apart, and then you'll lift both arms overhead, clasp the left wrist, and then do a side bend to the right, gazing down towards the right, and redistributing the weight equally through both feet, and really get a nice stretch on that left side, the left rib cage, the left side of the waist, down through the left leg. And then inhale back to center, and we'll just do the same thing on the second side. Clasping the right wrist, a nice side bend to your left, grounding down through the right leg, lifting up through the right side of the torso and arm so that you get that nice full side body stretch. And then inhale back to center and relax the arms. Good. Now we'll come to the short edge of the sticky mat and inhale the arms again overhead. And we'll transition to the floor by exhaling, bending both knees, and coming into Utkatasana, chair pose. So a few breaths here, really connecting to your strength, building some strength. Exhaling, drawing the belly in, just a slight scoop down and forward of the tailbone. And then as you inhale, really lift up through the chest. Drop the shoulders away from each other and really feel a nice, long, extended spine. Good. And then exhale, bend the knees a little bit more and fold forward into Uttanasana, a forward fold. On an inhale, you might lift the head and chest and just feel the spine get long. Exhale, squeeze the belly towards the back of the spine and fold forward, release down through your spine. Nice forward fold with as much bend in the knees as you might need. Then on an exhale, you'll step your left foot back and you'll come into a low lunge. So the left knee turns to the floor, left toes turn back. Yeah, that's right. So both hands initially up to the right thigh. And then in an effort to start to gradually loosen around the hip joints, you'll inhale, release the pelvis to the floor. Exhale, lift. Inhale, drop and release. Exhale, lift. Just looking to gently, gradually open the left hip flexor here as you release down. Good, then from here we'll hold. Zach will release his arms to the side and draw the arms overhead. A few breaths here, just like chair pose, connecting to your core, your strength in the abdomen on the exhale, keeping the low back long. And then on the inhale, a nice lift through the chest, dropping down through the shoulders, upper arm bones, externally rotating, lifting all the way up through the tips of the fingers. Nice. Good. Then, on an exhale, you release the arms, take the left arm to the outside of the right thigh and the right hand just to the low back. And we'll move into a twist here. Keep the spine long. There's many versions of this. You can come forward. In this version, we want to keep the spine long and move into a twist that way. So, on an exhale, squeeze the belly in. Roll that left rib cage forward as you draw that right shoulder blade in towards the spine. Inhale, just fill. Let yourself fill, get long in the spine. Exhale, squeeze, spin just a little bit more, and then from here, a nice version is to release both arms out. And just another couple breaths, inhaling, reestablishing that length in the spine, exhaling, squeezing the belly in, collecting, and twisting just a bit more. Good. And then on an inhale, you can come back to center, release both hands to the floor, step the right foot back to meet the left into downward facing dog. Real free-form downward dog here for a few breaths. We all have certain things we like to do in the pose, maybe pedaling the feet, as Zach is showing. Maybe rolling the pose along the spine, a little more weight into the hands, and then more weight back into the legs. Just moving through some movements you know your body responds well to in this pose. Then, we'll look to get at the hips a little bit more by doing a single leg downward dog. So the right leg will move to the left just an inch or two, and Zach, on an inhale, will lift the left leg. Remembering to continue to push into the hands, push the floor, the sticky mat away from you to keep the pose from dropping into the shoulders. So still a lot of nice length in the spine. And then you can bend that top leg, so heel towards the buttocks. And then if you'd like, stack that, in this case, left hip on top of the right. So you get a nice opening across that left thigh, the left hip flexors, and the abdomen. All the while, of course, pressing firmly into the floor with both hands. Good. Then you can bring the leg back to the floor into downward dog. A couple nice normal breaths here before we move into the second side. So as Zach's ready, he'll take the left leg, you move it to the center just a little bit, and then lift that second leg, in this case, the right leg. Nice extension all the way out through the heel. Again, continuing to maintain that length in the spine by not allowing the pose to drop into the shoulders, and then bending that higher knee, and stacking the right hip and now on top of the left. So again, nice stretch to the thigh, the hip flexor, nice opening into the abdomen as well, and continuing to firmly press into the floor with both hands. And then you can release the right leg back to the floor. Letting loose through the crown of the head, a couple breaths, finding that length in the spine, lifting up through the sit bones, nice. And really tilting the pelvis just a little bit to maintain that lift in the low back and open the backs of the legs. Then on the next exhale, you can step now that left foot forward. Right knee to the floor, right toes turned back. And we'll come through the low lunge here on the second side. So both hands initially to the left thigh. Like we did on the first side, just a few breaths, gradually letting that right hip flexor now open. So Zach will inhale and release to the floor, exhale, come back up. Hip flexors can be a sensitive space to open, so don't, it's easy to overdo this here. Just go to your capacity when you're inhaling and releasing the pelvis to the floor. It's an exceptional opening, but trust your back off if it's a little too intense. So after 3, you can release the arms, draw the arms overhead. A few breaths here, connecting to that stability you generate on the exhale at your core as you draw the belly in. Keep the low back long with a slight tucking down and forward of the tailbone. And then a few more breaths, really inhaling, lifting up through the chest. Nice. Mid-back flattens, moves towards the chest. Shoulders soften away from the ears, and a nice long extension up through the arms and the fingertips. So spine really getting long as that hip flexor and abdomen are allowed to stretch. And then on an exhale, you can release the hands back to the floor. Let's come into the twist here on the second side. So we'll start exhaling, right hand to that outside of that left thigh, left hand to the hip or low back. And as is the case with all twists, on an inhale, just let yourself inhale. Let yourself fill and fill completely. When you begin to exhale, draw the belly in and begin to twist the belly to the left, in this case. So left shoulder blade moves towards the spine, You feel like that right rib cage, even the right kidney kind of wraps forward and around off to the left. And then you can extend the arms out straight. And just another couple breaths here. Inhaling, getting long. Exhaling, drawing in through the abdomen and coming a little bit deeper in the twist, now with the weight of the arms to help the movement. Good. And then on an inhale, you can release, bring both hands to the floor. Exhale the back foot forward to come into Uttanasana. Nice forward fold here, letting the spine release down towards the floor. And then bend the knees and come on up, come back up to a standing position. Good. Okay. From here, we'll continue to stay with the hips by practicing Vrikshasana, tree pose. So to begin, you'll stand in Tadasana. Gradually, you'll bring the weighted pose into the left leg. And a beginning position is simply to turn the right foot out, heel just above the inner left ankle, hands to the hips. And it's helpful to fix the gaze on the floor or a place on the wall in front of you. From here, there are a few other variations. You might find you want to bring the foot just to that inner calf of the standing leg, or just above maybe the inner knee, or you might be able to draw the leg all the way up into the upper inner thigh. Once you find the right leg position that's appropriate for you, you can then bring the hands together in front of the chest, lifting the elbows to help and squeezing the palms into one another just to activate the muscles in the upper arms and shoulders. And just feel it's a balanced pose. It both requires balance, and it teaches balance and that inward focus in the mind to help still the body, and therefore teaches the mind to become still. Good. And then you can release the first side here, release the leg, release the arms. Let yourself loose for a few breaths, shake the shoulders, shake the hips as might be needed, and we'll move into the second side. So when Zach's ready, the weight of the pose will go into the right leg. He'll show you the first beginning variation, with that left heel just on the inner right ankle. So you're getting a hip opener here. It's very much a standing pose, of course, a balanced pose, but a nice hip opener for the leg that lifts. And then when you're ready, you can find the variation that's appropriate for you. If it's super easy, you can challenge yourself with a little bit more advanced leg position. And the practice, the work in the pose becomes to achieve that balance and finding how you need to really focus inwardly in the mind to find that balance. Grounding strongly down through the right leg, and like a tree, there's that sense of lifting upward through the spine and out through the crown of the head. Good. And then you can release the second side. And just shake anything out in the shoulders or pelvis as is needed. Let's do a wide-legged standing pose, and let's do triangle pose, Trikonasana. So we'll start to the right. Zach will turn his right foot out, left foot's turned in slightly. On an inhale, bring the arms to your side. Exhale, shift the hips to the left as you extend the right arm out over the right leg. So you stay long on this underside, in this case the right side, and then go ahead and release the right hand down, just in front of the right shin here. Just a few breaths here, getting long in the spine on the inhale. Exhale as you draw the belly in, connecting down through the left leg and left heel. So really feeling solid and grounded, in particular on that exhale. Keeping that sense of grounding. On the next inhale, we'll just do a little bit of dynamic movement here. Inhaling, you'll take the left arm overhead as you gaze down. So you get soft as you kind of receive the inhale. Exhale, squeeze the belly in, spin the belly, rotate the head, and extend the top arm up. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhaling, left arm overhead, top arm overhead. Exhaling. Good. So each inhale, you allow the breath, receive the pose. Each exhale, it's like the activation of the belly brings the pose alive, and you ground through both heels as you spin the belly towards the ceiling. Then we'll hold in a classic Trikonasana position for a few breaths. Inhaling, finding that length in the spine. Exhaling, connecting to the core and staying grounded through both heels. Then to come out, bend the right knee and lift up through the left arm and come all the way up. And release the hands. And we'll do the second side. Inhale the arms to your side. Exhale, shifting the hips to the right. Extend the left arm out over the left leg. Of course, if a block is appropriate for you to use, you can use a block. Some of you might be able to take the bottom hand down on the floor, and that's just fine. Here, the left hand's just in front of the left leg, and there's a slight micro bend to that left knee. A couple breaths here, inhaling, getting long, exhaling, squeezing the belly in, spinning the belly a bit towards the right. And then on the next inhale, bring a little bit of dynamic movement in, taking the right arm overhead. See how the gaze turns down, so you really receive the inhale. And then the exhale, as you squeeze the belly in and spin the belly and extend that top arm, you really activate in a space where it's important for us to activate in the core. So 3, 4, repetitions this way, and then we'll just hold again for a few breaths. And then to come out, bend the left knee, reach up through the right arm and come all the way up. Then bring the feet back to hip width distance apart. Sorry, let's take them a little bit wider than hip width distance apart, and bend the knees and drop the weight down, the hands down onto on the thighs, just above the knees. And just rest and breathe here for a moment. We've opened the shoulders a bit. We've opened the hips. We've opened the hip flexors and did a standing pose. All good work in and of itself, but really nice preparation work to work with abdominal squeeze. So we'll begin on an exhale. You'll just draw your awareness to your abdomen and begin to squeeze the belly towards the back of the spine. And on an inhale, just let the belly release as you fill. Exhale, squeeze the belly towards the back of the spine. And as you work in this way, your breath, the exhale, will naturally begin to elongate. See if you can match the length of the inhale to the length of the exhale. So it's akunchana prasarana, squeezing and releasing right at the belly, a place where it's important to get at and work with and bring fresh energy to the abdomen and start to get unstuck in places where a lot of us hold, a lot of us grip, and where things do get stuck. This practice can move toward an Agnisara practice by drawing up and in through the pelvic floor, then low belly and upper belly on an exhale. Inhaling, letting go in the opposite direction. So just another half minute or so, just so we can spend a little bit of time specifically at that space, at the Manipura chakra, our place of personal power here. So Zach's showing, how you can, it doesn't have to be a real fixed position in the body. You can, almost like a cat stretch, exhale and allow the spine to round a bit as you draw up and in, so that you can kind of get into places in the low back, the hips, that are in need of this healing energy that you get from this practice. Okay, of course, if you have more time, you could do this for a few more minutes, but let's move on from here. Good. So come back to the short edge of your sticky mat. And then on an inhale, float the arms overhead. Exhale, we'll come down to the floor through chair pose, Utkatasana. Just a few breaths here, connecting to that strength that we just accessed with chair pose here. So that strong activation in on the exhale, low back's long, chest lifts, nice. And then exhaling, bending the knees a little bit more, folding forward into Uttanasana. And then on the next exhale, you'll step one foot back and then the other to come right into downward facing dog pose. Inhaling, lifting up through the sternum, rolling the collarbones up, getting that nice length in the upper back. Exhaling, connecting again to that drawing in through the abdomen to really solidify the pose in the low back and pelvis. Good, and then from here, we'll exhale, release the knees to the floor, and then come prone to the floor with legs straight for, we'll do one back bend here. Prone, Cobra. So just settling into the floor, begin to, on an exhale, activate the legs. So firming the buttocks, firming the thighs, pressing down through the, releasing the tailbone back, pressing down through the pubis. Then on the next inhale, you'll feel the belly fill, and then gradually the upper body will lift up, engaging through the abdomen, not losing that strength in the legs. Elbows in, shoulders away from the ears, back of the neck nice and long. And then on an inhale, you'll come down just about halfway. On an exhale, you'll come down just about halfway. Inhale, as you feel the belly fill, release back up. So we'll do that just 2 more times. Exhaling, strong activation in the legs and your core as you come down about halfway. Inhale, as you fill, you naturally lift as the belly fills. Good, and then we'll just hold for a breath or two here. Shoulder blades drawing towards one another and away from the ears. Nice. So a nice opening through the chest. And then on an exhale, release to the floor. Straighten the arms and rest your head to one side. And just allow yourself to rest and breathe. It's important that we counter any kind of back bend, lengthening the spine, not necessarily in a real exaggerated way, but in a nice forward fold that's a mild forward fold that's soft and allows us to cool down a little bit. So when Zach's ready, he'll first push back into downward dog for a breath or two, and then we'll come into child's pose. So really just allowing that low back, which extends in a back bend, to just, in fact, you can even round if you allow your low back to round. That can be a nice counter to the back bend. And then straighten again. You decide what kind of counter and how much rounding in the low back feels appropriate for you from downward dog, and then you can release the knees to the floor and take the pelvis back and rest for a few breaths in child's pose. Same idea, this counter to a invigorating, active back bend. Now we have a more soft, passive forward bend. Allowing the sympathetic nervous system to soften, to quiet, as you consciously inhale into the low back, into the back of the spine, and exhale, allow yourself to release forward and down into the support of the thighs and to the support of the floor. And you can stay here as long as you might need. Once you feel that smooth rhythmic breath, diaphragmatic breath has returned, you can slide the hands towards the knees and sit back on the heels in Vajrasana. From here, it's going to feel nice to just sit and be with how you feel after this practice. Gradually paying attention to the flow of your breath, moving in and out of the nostrils. Another alternative is to add an invigorating pranayama practice. For this sequence, we'll do just about a half minute of Bhastrika. If you're at practice with Bhastrika, or you might choose Kapalabhati, another invigorating pranayama practice, that would be appropriate too. But remember, you can just sit here, paying attention to the feel of the breath flowing in and out of the nostrils, and that would be good time spent as well. So when Zach's ready, he'll begin a Bhastrika pranayama practice, and I'll count off 30 seconds. It's a chance for us to activate the mind now. We've activated the physical body through everything we've done so far. Now we can bring a little bit of lightness and brightness and energy to the mind as well. Spine's nice and long. All the activation coming from the low belly, as Zach's showing. So we're coming up on 30 seconds. And then as you complete this round of Bhastrika, just allow your mind to rest in that space around the third eye, the eyebrow center. Just noticing what's changed there. Perhaps you sense a pleasantness, a sweetness, a clarity, or just less distraction in your mind from this pranayama practice. Let your mind rest there. Let it be comforted, soothed by that feeling. Okay. And then from here, we can come to the floor, come onto your back, and just take the thighs towards the abdomen. You can roll across the spine, just letting out any tension or any gripping that might be going on along the spine. And then we'll do a hip cradle. So draw the right leg across the left thigh. And then you'll lift the left leg towards the abdomen and interlace the fingers on the left shin. So really getting out into that left abductor on the left leg. And you might find that just rocking side to side helps you get into different spaces within that left leg. Especially as you go to the right, you'll find different areas in the abductors on that left side that really appreciate the attention that you're giving them. And so we can release that first side and begin the second side when you're ready. Gently rocking side to side, just looking for different space now on that, on the left hip flexor that enjoys the attention that you give them. And then you can release both feet to the floor. And then straighten the legs. And let yourself rest in Shavasana, corpse pose. Feeling the support of the floor underneath you. You know, this would be the time to get any other props you might need for a more prolonged relaxation. Here we're just resting, breathing, watching the belly rise and fall with each breath. Continuing your own systematic relaxation for as long as might be appropriate for you. Namaste.